Hey, this is Keith Wallen. You're listening to the Midwest Mixtape Podcast.
Hi, and welcome to the Midwest Mixtape Podcast, live from the barn office. You got the Mox here, and I'm joined online with a special guest. We have Keith Wallen. Keith, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. Yeah, doing well. Yeah, actually on tour right now with Breaking Ben. And we're in West Palm Beach, Florida. Sunny West Palm Beach.
Yeah, and a lot of people will know you in your role with Breaking Benjamin, guitar player, vocalist, backup vocalist, and all that. But you have a solo career that keeps you, I think, just as busy as anything else. And that's going to be my first question: is how are you able to balance everything that you're a part of and everything that you're doing?
A lot of coffee. Yeah, man, it's definitely a challenge. But hey, man, it's life is short. Might as well just go for it. So, I'm young enough to still play guitar and sing and do all the stuff. So I'm hitting it while I can,
And you guys are out currently, Breaking Benjamin, on the Awaken the Fallen tour. This is kind of like the last leg of the tour. You're sort of winding down. How has the tour been so far? And also, do you do writing while you're on tour, or is there even a time for that?
Yeah, the tour's been great, man. Obviously, the first leg was amazing, and I'm really stoked that, they decided to kind of add this second leg to it. Obviously, we had a couple makeup shows because of the hurricane last year, so it's cool to be back in Florida for those. But yeah, man, it's been great. Yeah, like you said, we're kind of wrapping up. We're maybe about halfway through, so we got a few shows left, and should be good. But yeah, I think, as far as writing goes, sometimes I do. It kind of depends. It kind of depends on the scheduling. Like if we've got some time on some days off, lots of times we're traveling on some of the days off. So it's kind of hard to kind of get everything all set up in transit. But yeah, sometimes I do. And it depends on, if there's some sort of project or something that I'm working on, I'll try to make time for it.
When you're talking about your solo career, it's an exciting time. You just released a new single and video, Us Against the World. Seems like the lyrics have a pretty powerful message. And I know a lot of your lyrics seem to come from a personal space, I guess. What inspired the lyrics on this and really the emotion behind the track?
Yeah, this song's kind of a little bit older than some of my other ones. I wrote it during COVID, actually, when I was, we were all just kind of trapped in our houses. So, it's like, I don't know. Sometimes I think, life's hard, and, you need a friend to, sometimes kind of go through some of those hardships with, to kind of make it a little easier on you. But it's whether it be your significant other, your best friend, your family, your teammates, your band, it's like, sometimes we need a little extra backup to get us through some of the hard stuff. So, it's exactly what it says. It's pretty just straightforward. Us against the world, and, with that being said, it's like, there's hard times sometimes, but also it's nice to have people to celebrate the good times too. It almost makes it more worthwhile when you have someone to kind of share that stuff with. So, yeah.
Is there usually because I know your last record, seem to touch on some personal things, I think, with family members and things like that. Mm-hmm. Is there a sort of a creative process as far as the lyric goes that you kind of stick to? Like, does it always come from personal, or are you able to step outside of that and do a little storytelling, or is it a little bit of both?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Obviously I feel like sometimes I use kind of personal stuff to kind of inspire me, kind of start it off. And sometimes things aren't entirely accurate, and, I can kind of veer off and kind of make it more of a story and poetic and all that stuff. But, yeah, I think that's kind of the thing with songwriting. There's no real rules, and you just kind of, go for it. But I always try to come from a real place, at least from the, the sentiment of it. So, yeah.
Let's talk about the video a little bit for Us Against the World. Shot in grayscale, for the most part, I guess. There's a little bit of an ending that's sort of maybe a plot twist, but yeah. Looks like it's sort of out in the desert and sort of a haunting kind of area. Tell us about shooting the video and where that vision came from.
Yeah, that was actually shot during the first leg of the Awaken the Falling tour in the fall. So we had a day off in Vegas, and yeah, I actually I wrote the treatment for the video, and actually this is my first video I've ever directed, and me and my longtime kind of creative partner that we've done a lot of stuff together. Me and Courtney Fiore, she's a really amazing photographer, and we've done a few videos before, but it was cool. She kind of was just like, take the reins on this one, and see how we do. And obviously she helped, and we had a great cinematographer, Paul Lacerda, that was just really just monumental in this. But yeah, we just, we got to do this. Otherwise, we're going to have to be just flying a bunch of people somewhere. So it's like, we're already there. A bunch of us are kind of close by, it just made sense to kind of try to get it done. And we did, but it was in the middle of the desert. It was 106 degrees. It was brutal, but, looking back, I'm like, it wasn't too bad, but it's nice now that it's, it's done and we have a cool finished product. But yeah, it was pretty brutal. Not much of a day off, I'll tell you that.
The last, I'd say, 10 to 15 years, sort of how people consume music has obviously changed in a lot of different ways. But I know your music videos, you stay on the music videos. How important is the music video, do you think, for representing your music and your art?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people would probably say it's very, very important. But, I would say, I don't know. Some would say it's not as important just because MTV, all the TV, the TV channels, VH1 and all that stuff that used to play. I'm showing my age now, but all those channels that used to play music videos, I mean, there's no real outlet for it. You just have to be on YouTube, and that's still going strong. So I think it's important to have a visual representation of your song. And but, there's so many things now, visualizers, lyric videos and everything. And everybody's just putting out so much stuff. So it's hard to compete with all the stuff that comes out on a daily basis. But I still think it's important. I always try to have some kind of thing, to go with the song, even if it's, just some sort of visualizer. But it's fun to kind of, do the video sometimes. I think with this song, we're kind of ahead of the curve with it. I wasn't really sure whether or not the song was going to come out. There was a possibility that it might go to another artist, but we took the risk and just said, you know what, let's shoot the video anyway. So that way, if I do use the song, we've got the video and everything's ready for it. So it turned out that it was for me, and we had the video ready.
And last year, you guys released Infinity Now, and I know that's been well received. Us Against the World specifically, is this a single to a bigger project, like an EP or an album that you're working on, or is this just an individual piece?
Yeah, it's technically, I guess it was going to be a single, but it came out as an EP. There was a few other songs from Infinity Now that we included in the packaging there with the release. And really the main reason for that is, sometimes you get an album that comes out and, people will listen to the first like 2 or 3 tracks, and then some of the songs from like track 5 and later just don't get heard, they just don't get the same amount of love. So I think it was one of those things where it's like, let's throw some of these other songs that are, kind of on the back half of Infinity Now on here just to see if it get a little extra love. So that's what we did. Obviously had an instrumental and an acapella version too. That's kind of a new thing that bands are doing. So I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Let's do it. So, but right now I think the plan is to have a few more just singles, and whether that leads to another album down the road, we'll see. But right now I'm not really thinking about it. I'm just kind of putting out songs. You kind of got to do it that way these days. It's a kind of a single driven world. So.
And Dear Father being one of them, right? Where you re-released that, and that was on the back half, might even been the last song on Infinity Now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So it feels like you're pretty strategic, which is a great song, and I think it needs ears. It sounds like you have to be pretty strategic as far as where you place things on the record, because attention spans aren't what they used to be. We don't consume whole records anymore, and when I say we, the general public, I would say.
Sure.
I still love to put a record on and try to take it all in as one piece, but
Yep.
I
Me too.
also understand the convenience of things like Spotify and streaming in that regard. So I'm glad to see that that's on this as well.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's funny, it's like things change, who knows what it'll be, 2 years from now. So, we all as artists just kind of have to acquiesce to the times and the trends and just hold on and see what happens.
How is your role different as a solo artist than in Breaking Benjamin?
Well, for one, Breaking Benjamin, there's four other individuals that have opinions and things, and obviously it's Ben's band, and he's kind of got the final say with most things. But I mean, in my situation, it's kind of like, well, this is kind of my thing, and like all of the decisions just rest right on my shoulders. So it's a lot sometimes. So with the stresses of that, comes just a lot of pressure but it's fun. It's fun too. I think where I get most nervous is when a song is about to come out and I'm just like, oh man, you're always thinking like, man, I hope people like it. And, I hope it's going to be well received. And, all the work you put into stuff, it's just my heart and my soul. I just like really put into these songs, because it's just my voice and my thing, but at some point you just gotta be like, well, you know what? I put the work in. I got to just release my baby into the world and see what happens, So, yeah.
I guess it's maybe a little bit of a vulnerable feeling, right? Because it is.
Oh, yeah. It's terrifying.
Yeah, your art you can be so emotionally attached to it, and sometimes I think, and I'm projecting here, but sometimes maybe to a fault, we get emotionally attached to things.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I mean, one thing that I've just tried to realize too is not to put so much stuff in so much of my, so much feeling into like the release of something, because there's going to be other songs. It's not like this is my last song and this is how people will remember me for the rest of my life. I'm going to be putting out more songs. So I always have to remember that and remind myself that.
I mentioned off air that we actually talked last year when Infinity Now came out, and you were getting ready to play Ridgedale, Missouri, down by Branson, Missouri. And you mentioned that you were a golfer on your days off or your off time. You're a golfer. And I mentioned that you should go play Paynes Valley down by Branson. Did you get a chance to get there, and are you familiar with that course? I
am not, and I did not get a chance. No, I wish. That sounds awesome. It sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Tiger Woods' only course, and it's okay. He was really close with Payne, the golfer that's from Springfield, Missouri. But you're actually the cool. Kickoff to your Breaking Benjamin Fall Tour with 3 Days Grace kicks off in Ridgedale, August 29th. So maybe you'll get another opportunity to get on the course. Yeah, there we go. If we get in a couple days early, I might have to make that happen. Absolutely. Do you take the clubs with you? Usually I don't. Who wants to fly with golf clubs? I sure don't. Yeah. Lots of times I just, if we go on tour, we just rent some clubs, and I don't think it really matters what kind of clubs I'm using. As long as I hit the ball, I'll be happy with that. So, you're currently on tour right now, like we mentioned, and we'll be touring for pretty much the rest of the year, on and off. What about some show dates? I saw a couple on your website, but for your solo work. Yeah, there's going to be an announcement here soon. I'm going to try. I think I'm going to have some dates here for July, some more dates, that is, for July and a little bit of August. And then obviously I've got the tour with Breaking Ben, 3 Days Grace in the fall. And I think there should be another solo tour after that as well in the fall. So it's going to be a busy back half of the year. I'm so grateful to be playing music and for people to be paying attention to my solo music and checking it out. I really do feel like it is a journey that I'm on, but I feel like we're all kind of on the journey too, because to me, I know that I've been playing music over 30 years, almost 20 years, 25 years at this point.
So I feel like I've been around a long time, but to everybody else, my solo music and my name it's kind of relatively new too. So it's kind of an interesting thing. So I got to remind myself that, like, hey, I'm a new artist. I got to just put the work in and get out there.
You've toured all over the world, and is there anything we talk about? Kind of joking about the golf clubs a little bit, but is there any like tour necessities? And what is you kind of hear some horror stories sometimes with the touring life. Are you able to manage it pretty well?
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing it a long time. I think I've got it pretty down. I'd say the touring essentials is Tums. Tums. Let's see here. The usual stuff, deodorant. Some of these hot days you got to re-up. But yeah, man. Honestly, and here's something, and this isn't something necessarily that you can bring, but a good night's sleep, I think, really, really helps you survive out here and helps you stay healthy and plus just like really, really being vigilant with washing your hands because you're just meeting so many people in different places. So got to keep your hands clean because the worst thing in the world to be is on tour and sick. It's the fucking worst. So go to great lengths to avoid that.
Keith Wallen with the new single "Us Against the World" with the awesome video, by the way. And you got to watch the whole thing for maybe a cliffhanger or a little bit of a surprise at the end there.
Yeah,
Keith Wallen. Yeah, a little twist there. KeithWallen.com, BreakingBenjamin.com. We're going to be catching Breaking Benjamin with Stain June 1st in Kansas City, Missouri. So looking forward to having you in town, and we'll meet up.
Oh, yeah, man. Dude, thank you so much for having me, and to all the fans out there that are paying attention to little old me. I really love you guys. I appreciate you.
Thanks for your time today, man.
Thanks, brother. See you soon.